Great.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hello.
Hello, the European people. How are you?
Hello, you European people yourself. Hello.
At present, I'm Tunisian.
Ah, okay. But we accept you, of course.
Ah, thank you.
We are open. Okay, so thank you everyone for being here. We're gonna start because some people will join us a little bit later, but we're gonna start anyway. I hope you can all see my screen. So thank you very much for being here for our first Smart Industry event. I'm gonna be, as we say, a little bit your host tonight. So I'm gonna go through the session. The session is recorded. Only my screen sharing is recorded. So just to let you know. And we're doing the recording also for our possibility of doing a wrap up of the session afterwards. So thanks again for being here, for having signed up on our website or also on LinkedIn. And so we're happy to have you. So I'm going to present to you. So I would like just 2-3 technical issues. So please stay on mute if you don't have anything really urgent to say, so that we don't have any background noises. If you have any questions, please type them in the question box in the chat so we can take them for the panel discussion a little bit later. I'll show you here the event agenda of tonight. So I'm gonna do a small introduction on who we are and why we're here, to introduce also to you our speakers for tonight and our panelists. Then we're going to have a keynote from one of our European scale-ups from ProGlove and Andreas König, who is here with us tonight. We're going to present to you our mapping. So it's something that you will learn about, why we do it, how we do it, and what we want to do with it, especially. And then we're going to have a couple of presentations of our members, and we're really happy that they will share their innovation approach and their view of European innovation with us. And then a small panel discussion. And then in the very end, we have the networking. So networking is here for everyone who wants to stay. It's a little bit like in the real world. So if you want to stay, you can. If you want to network and meet other people who also work in the smart industry, sector in Europe. So you would be welcome to stay. So a small intro about who we are for those who do not know us yet. And there are very many new names tonight. So I'm really happy because that you have found our event. So who we are, so the European Champions Alliance is a non-for-profit organization that has been founded in February 2020. So we have a couple of months, not even 1 year, and has been founded by a couple of people, passionate entrepreneurs and also experts in business development who want to promote European tech and also who want to help our companies become European champions. So the positioning of the European Champions Alliance is very business oriented. We are very complementary to other associations that exist that are doing more of the regulatory and legal questions like France Digital, Verein Deutscher Startups, for example. So we're very complementary to this. Everything in the ECA is around business and how can we work better together? How can we help our startups and scale-ups to become European champions? And how can we also make them interact with the European companies who are looking to purchase and collaborate with European technology, European sovereign technology. So this is very important for us. So we're very hands-on. We are very much into international business development, in sales, in operations, and marketing. So those are the topics that we are discussing at the European Champions Alliance. So if you're passionate about this, you're at the right spot. So our vision, to give you a small idea, our vision is to enable, of course, the technological leadership of European startups on a European scale, but also on a global scale. And for this, we want to basically very much work on the network, because what we have seen and why we're here is because we have experience that the ecosystem, the technological ecosystem and the innovation ecosystems are very much still on a very local level in Europe. So we have a great innovation system and ecosystem in France, in Germany, in Austria, in Switzerland. But what we have been missing, and this is why we're doing this, were the interactions between those ecosystems. And we really want to harness the network of everyone and to be able to really collaborate on a European scale. And of course, our values are around collaboration, innovation, exchange, ambition. We are all very friendly people, so we just want to work together. Our organization, very quickly, we're organized in focus groups. So we have sectorial focus group and also transversal focus groups. In those focus groups, and you're here in the smart industry focus group tonight. So we want to share knowledge. We want to share our knowledge. We want to make really action. So we are not a think tank. We are really a do tank. We want that our members work together and have the possibility to do business. So we connect, we partner, we promote. We want to also promote, of course, European tech. And this is why we're here also with the mapping tonight. I'm going to go quite quickly for the introduction. If you have any questions afterwards, we can explain everything to you. But tonight we want to especially give a lot of time to our speakers. So this is why I'm going really quickly. So those are the focus groups that we have already running, the green ones. So we started in cybersecurity. The second one was Industry 4.0 or smart industry. We are working on health tech issues, on space tech. We have done a first event a couple of weeks ago, which was really great. And we're also having a group also running on innovation, where we are basically talking to the different innovation ables in our countries. And then we have another focus groups, event tech, mobility, clean tech, green tech, everything which is around the green tech space that are already in progress. And we are creating the kickoff groups right now. So if you have interested people in those topics, please send them to us or to me. And the ones that we are still discussing is retail tech and ed tech. So we're really trying to focus on the sectors that are important in our view for the European ecosystem. And so if you have any ideas about those focus groups, please let us know. So tonight you're in the smart industry focus group. So the focus group here, you see the members, the most active members of the focus group, almost everyone except I think Martin, who cannot be here tonight, are here tonight. So we're meeting since a couple of weeks. We have worked together to create this focus group to work on this mapping together that we will present tonight. We have worked together to prepare the evening and this event for you tonight. So we're really happy that you're all here. So our goal in this group is to share our experience, to discuss with each other, to talk. For the moment, the focus group is rather small, but with this evening tonight, we hope that we can enlarge it also to other members, but it's always good to kick off a focus group rather small to be able to go quickly. So we network, and of course, the concrete actions is always important at the ECA. So we have been working on the mapping that we will show to you and also on this evening tonight. So I want to present to you, of course, the speakers that you have maybe already seen on our event page, but I want to introduce them to you very quickly and they will introduce themselves also. And I'm really happy because most of those people have been really in this discussion since the very, very beginning. So I'm really happy about this. So first of all, Lamin, of course, who is here from Infineon, which is our first corporate member, official announcement tonight, our first official corporate member in Germany. So I'm really happy that you're here, Lamin. Thank you very much. Then, of course, Andreas. So Andreas was here at our very first event. He came to Paris to be part in our very first event last year. It was, I think, in February 2019. So it's really long ago. Thank you, Andreas, for supporting us since the beginning and telling us that what we're doing is a good idea. Frédéric from Thales and Frank also, who are in charge of the innovation activities at Thales and also at Industry 4.0 at Thales. Frédéric and Frank. Frédéric, one of the first persons also who really encouraged us to keep on pushing this issue, and Thales also is our first corporate member in France, so we're really happy about this too. So thank you very much for being here. And then Aymeric. So I know Aymeric since a very long time. We haven't had very many occasions to exchange, but Scortex is one of the scale-ups in France who's active in Germany, and we will hear about this. So Aymeric, thank you very much for being here. And So without further ado, I want to give the floor to Andreas for our keynote and the significance of European sovereignty in smart industries. So I'm very happy to hear about this. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, Andreas, and if you can, please share your screen for us.
Okay, I will do, Andrea. So thank you. I remember in the first meeting we had last year, I was the only non-French speaker, so you had to switch to English, which made me feel sorry. But thanks.
I did it with pleasure.
Pleasure to support your organization. I really think it's a very good idea. So
Thank you.
I'm sharing my screen. So I hope everyone can see it.
Yes.
Okay. So before I explain who we are, actually, I think it's interesting to see that a scale up, even a European scale up, can go quite a way. We have been named as a cool vendor by Gartner actually this year for the products that we have, which is quite exciting. And what we are also very proud of, and I just explained it before we got on the call, that we also have been named as a technology pioneer by the World Economy Forum. And they did have their kickoff session, also a virtual one last week, which was quite interesting. And there are only 100 tech pioneers every year globally. And I think I want to explain you why they choose us and why actually our approach is interesting and why we as European companies do play a significant role and should play a significant role also in the high-tech startup world. So what does make us so significant is actually twofold. First of all, we have, in comparison to most or many other companies, the human in the center of everything we are doing. And we do it by giving them, we call it micro efficiencies. So where customers can really, through a task they have done a million times already, in this case, scanning barcodes more efficiently. And it sounds like a small thing, but we can save up to 6-7 seconds per scan. And in the automotive industry, that a second that you save actually turns into roughly €1. So every second you save a lot of money to the people. What's also very specific, because we are so human-centric, we believe that everything we do should be close to the human. And that's why we actually do and are world champions in creating wearables that really fit the human and make them empower the human and empower the workforce. Which made us, and that's I think for a startup or a scale up of our size, it's quite astonishing. We really sell into the top 500 global customers, the Fortune 500. There's literally no automotive company that is not using us. We are selling into retail, online, and that's also one other reason why we have been successful. It's because everything is plug and play. Everything is easy to use. You get an immediate return of investment, which in the world of startup is super, super important. No long time until someone sees why you benefit to the business. So what is happening actually in the world of today, I mean, beyond our company, but in general, what's really happening is that people are actually alienated by technology. People are fearing technology, especially the human worker in the companies, because they always hear about AI, machine learning, automation, and that makes them believe their job will go away pretty quickly. As a matter of fact, there are many studies that actually say the opposite. And even companies like Amazon or Tesla, who really were striving for a higher, or still strive for a high automation, they claim that automation is something they want to do, but only for the things that can be replicated quite easily and can offload the human. But the human will, for the very, very, very long time, play a fundamental role. Into our today's customer, actually, the average of the time spent by anything in the process is the human. It takes about 50% of the whole process, whether being in the retail, manufacturing, and so on. So the human plays a big role. And I think that's something that people truly forget, that technology should be here and automation here to help the human and not to alienate him in the whole process. And that's, I think, one of the changes in mindset that we have brought to the industry. And that's why people like Gardner choose us. And that's why people like the World Economy Forum choose us. And that's why also Frost and Sullivan, they just came out with a report, which will be published shortly, said that we are the leader in industrial wearables. Actually choose us because too many times the machine is in the mind of optimization instead of having the human, and we have the human in the center. And I think what's key is that we all need to bridge the gap between what the human is doing and what the industry and what the digital surrounding is doing with him. So help him interact and help him work with the automation that's going on around him in order to make him smarter or help him to the workforce to become a smarter workforce. I also very often hear that Europe is actually hopelessly lagging behind technology. And so you hear about Google, you hear about Amazon, other companies, and people are fearing to come up with new high-tech solutions because they always believe that the US is already so far ahead. Why should we even invest? And I think what we are doing is a good example that things can happen and can work. And I think there's two fields that I believe can do work very nicely in Europe. One is, and very foremost, we are still a leader when it gets to industry applications, whether building something, building machines, building cars, real industrial applications. And I do believe that when it gets to industrial startup, a natural place where industrial startups should be found is Europe. And that's also, I do believe, and that's the second part, data. The data, most of the data still sits in Europe. And I will go to this in a second, but we should take more advantage of data and the data that we are creating. But what's really important, the human worker will remain indispensable. Even if more and more AI application, machine learning applications will come up, even if certain tasks will be automated. And I'm a fan of automation if it really helps the human to focus on the things that he can do best. And so, but very fundamental, the human worker will remain indispensable. And we need to create technology that actually serves the human instead of eliminating the human. Because there are certain tasks that a robot is only with a lot of work and a lot of cost can come close to doing, but it's only certain tasks. But you cannot replicate a human in his complexity, way of things he can really do on a day-to-day basis. So coming to data, the GAFA, so Google, Amazon, Facebook, what they do, and that's probably something that we as European companies don't do enough, but should do more. They are relentlessly utilizing data. And now you might say, okay, how does this, is this conflicting with GDPR? And my point is, no, it's not. But unfortunately, because no one really understands, or only not many companies still don't understand really what is allowed, what's not allowed. They are actually fearing to use data because of GDPR sanctions that might come up. But on the other hand, and I think if you know what you're doing, if you capture the data, this is actually, and you do it GDPR compliant, you really have an advantage. I did see this in a former company that I was running, and we're seeing it again here. if you really collect data that's helping the company, for example, optimizing how people work on a shop floor, helping them minimizing the steps they need to take and in every step of their work, that's very helpful. On the other side, I sometimes believe GDPR can go too far and can actually hinder certain things, but that's a separate subject. But I think we as European companies should not find GDPR as a hindering factor to go and collect data in the right way and utilizing it for their business. So at the end of the day, it's really what we are trying to do and what we as European companies should be able to do and should be front leaders are connecting the human worker to the IoT, to the digital surrounding around you, collect operational data, contextualize it, and really provide actionable insight. So how do we do that? Just to put this in context. So we are a scanner company that uses wearable technology. But what we really are capturing is data on how people move in a shop floor, how many steps they do between the scanning, whether the scan was happening too far away from the other scan. So really optimizing the route that people are taking in order to pick things. And that's data you can actually capture even in the context of GDPR. And so far, to my knowledge, we are the only ones who do it automatic real time. And I believe people haven't done it in the past because they fear that they're collecting the wrong data, but it's possible. So GDPR, and that's the takeaway I'm having from this whole thing, needs to be industry driven. We should not let GDPR initiatives or data initiatives being driven by the government only, but I do believe that we as industry can play and should play a fundamental part in driving how data are used and how data should not be used. And so far, I don't see enough initiatives actually coming from this side. So what is the conclusion and wrapping up my speech here? First of all, we believe the human worker is in the focus and should be in the focus of what everyone is doing. And the data shows that the human still plays the biggest role in whatever is going on in the factory. The second thing is really promoting the human-machine collaboration, help the human to get the information that he needs to, and help the human to interact with the automation that's going around him and not letting him aside and not helping him. I think that's the second biggest thing. And the third one is GDPR can actually be a super, if we use it the right way, a super advantage. And probably you've seen what's been going on with the Californian data law that will be introduced quite quickly, which is also very stringent, which is following the European initiative. I think that can be an advantage, and I think we should exploit it and make sure that in combination with the human work in the center gives us the edge, the positive edge that we as Europeans should have in this whole play. So thanks, and I wanted to hand it over back to you, Andrea.
Thank you, Andreas, and thank you very much for the presentation and for giving us again the idea that I think that something that we can work on really in Europe is placing the human in the center of what we're doing. And I think we're doing this in very many initiatives already and have to think about this every time we do it. And maybe to follow up on what you said about the data and just to do some very small self-promotion, we're going to do a topic on the 3rd of December, a webinar on the question of data protection and how can we actually also, this is from the cybersecurity focus group, how can we protect all of the data that is collected in the industrial space and in Europe in general? How can we protect it, and how can GDPR also be a competitive advantage for European companies? So if you want, you can sign up on this also on our, you will find the information on our LinkedIn from tomorrow. So thank you very much, Andreas, for being here and for sharing your thoughts. I'm going to share again my screen, and I'm going to hand over the discussion to our focus group members to present our mapping, our smart industry scale-up mapping. So I'm going to hand over to Ingo and Philippe to present to us what we have done, and to let you discover the mapping that that we have worked on for a couple of weeks, I must say.
Yeah,
Ingo.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you also, Andreas, for basically giving a great example for a company that has spread across Europe and has been a true scale-up, where we see that European tech actually in this area can win. And I think that's our objective. And maybe very brief introduction, Ingo Franz. I'm working actually since more than 15 years as a VC in this space, particularly Europe, also partly bringing companies to the US. But my background is also smart industry, so I worked in the industry for quite some while. And since 5 years, I work as a founding partner at Vector Pilot, advising, mentoring, also investing in companies. I work together with Philippe, who will co-share the presentation. Maybe a very short welcome from Philippe.
Yes, good evening, everybody. And I think we are practicing at Vector Pilot because we are French-German, German-French. And this is also an important element that we should share with you this evening. That's when we are talking about Europe, we mean it. It's not only French, but German and in the future other nationalities which will be part of the mapping that we'll be presenting this evening. My background, I was the second employee of Dassault Systèmes, except the 30 coming from Dassault Aircraft, and during 14 years I was part of this wonderful story and adventure of Dassault Systèmes becoming a worldwide leader in the CAD/CAM software. After that, I switched to the dark side of the power with VC named Partech in France, and I joined after that Banexi in the same activity of venture, but always keeping in mind that the French and German activity, bilateral activity, was key for the development of the industrial software. And that's the reason why when I got the information or the news that ECA was starting, I joined, and it's very important that we are all together committing to this European tech.
I think that's a point. Philippe and I definitely have a view on the market. We invested together in the space, and we are kind of analyzing and looking at the market in Europe at least since 2 years, and that's probably also why we have been very keen on contributing and working with the ECA team. Really thank you for everybody who contributed on that. So we have the honor to go through what we found. So I think that, well, starting, why do we do this? I mean, we are not just another analyst who wants to, let's say, create content for the sake of the content. I think what we really want to do is we want to build a tool to interact and to discuss. So the mapping is the first step we usually do in each focus group. I was able to help also on the cybersecurity side, and it's a good tool to actually get in contact with companies and to interact also with partners who are interested again to do external innovation, partnering, whatever, with the with startups and scale-ups. And it's also an interesting field to present companies also, or make companies visible to investors. That's a little bit the part where I came from. At least when I worked with 3i or Creator, I was always looking for companies in this kind of analytics, so blogs and association. So we hope that we actually are a good tool for the companies to get into contact with these stakeholders. So our objective is definitely to promote smart industry, because that's something where we really think that Europe can win and is well positioned. We can see that also from the map. And well, it's a tool to raise awareness. And I think that it will keep the smart industry world kind of turning to actually interact between the startup side, the scale-up side, the large corporates who look for innovation, and obviously investors who fuel this this process. Okay.
We have Ingo, we have also to say that during the last 20 years, we have been working together on many occasion opportunities on cross-border deals. Let's say that could be also a very interesting tool to know for a startup, the counterpart in Germany, or for the German startup to know the French counterpart, so they can go together and potentially partner or consolidate and build a European champion. And that's something that we have done on several occasions and opportunities.
Well, next slide, please. So what were we looking for? I think what we're really looking for is companies that are able to execute on a European and then also on a global scale. What drives us is that we believe that there is a large potential untapped currently. That means, well, expanding at a European scale. Many companies I know in Germany have the reflex to look at the US, now more and more to Asia. But what my finding is from a lot of investments is that, well, Europe has a lot of potential. If I see many investments I had in the portfolio, they often earn their money in Europe. And then obviously they need to be visible on American and Asian markets, but it's difficult. So we really encourage the European expansion as a key step for critical mass and to gaining force, to attracting funding, by the way, as well. So we look at two categories here. One are the scale-ups. These are companies which are, let's say, already at a growth stage. So it might be a startup who has really grown, has attracted funding, and it can be also, and that's a quite strong component also in Germany at least, it's SMEs, small, medium-sized companies that had gone maybe through a phase of professional service, have grown on their own, not a venture model, but they came to a point when they really got a strong tech and they were growing fast. So these are, I would say, the companies we really would like to work with and to pave them the way to do more European expansion, because we see and we find that many of these companies don't have yet a strong footprint across the European countries. And there's a lot of potential. There are some criteria we put to the page, how long they should be on the market, what turnover level, 5-10 million, full-time equivalents, people 40, 150, or venture funding as well, where we see that they have collected a lot of money for further growth. We didn't want to take out of the map, let's say, really recent companies, more recent companies. So what we call startups to watch. because we really see a lot of potential in many technological fields, enabling technologies, artificial intelligence, data technologies, many really things driven by new connected devices. And these are often startups, and we say startups to watch. But it's front-running tech. So we take smaller criteria, younger companies. They should have clients. So we say at least 1 million of turnover, might be in size 15 to 40 people. And we really looked at companies that have attracted some venture funding. So we had some general findings. If we can look at the next page. I mean, we have a large database, really quite big. We picked at the beginning about 350 companies that were in the wider context of smart industry. We had to take choices together in the focus groups, which topics we want to take. I mean, we have taken some. We are open to open this this framework, but we have been taking a choice. And obviously, we have been only able at this stage to look in few geographies. We picked Germany or German-speaking countries, but mainly Germany. And we have picked France. But we really would like, in the next release, to go broader and really to cover Europe, because we know personally, but also from many interactions, that there's a lot of potential outside these two nations, which to some point still are the biggest markets. So if you are in those two regions, you kind of already a kind of European market leader, and that's what we are looking for. That's what we really want to encourage. So we have 115 companies who made it into the map. Because we set all these criteria. We had a little bit more from France and Germany, 46 to 68. As I said, Austria and Switzerland were really not too much penetrated in the research. So most of the companies are on the watch list, because we think and we believe that they will make a point in the next 2 years on the market. And many of them might become scale-ups. And 44 have already achieved this kind of critical size to be a European player. So this is the map. This is part of the map, because
for the scale-ups. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is the first map, which shows the companies which have reached a scale-up size, I think that's important to see what categories we have applied. I don't want to go company by company, because I really would like the interaction after this event. We have taken two areas. One is what we call enabling technologies which we think will make an impact in the smart industry, or Industrie 4.0 in Germany. And the other part is basically what we call industrial value chain. So key technologies where everybody is speaking from is artificial intelligence, it's robotics, data technologies, IoT, and the twin to IoT, I always say industrial security, because of all this connectivity. And we have the industrial value chain, where we say we start in design and product stage, where products are defined, major impact of smart industries, products are getting smart, value chains, production chains getting connected. We move from hardware to software. We move from physical products to simulated products. All this kind of trends. We have major block of companies in the smart production, which is a little bit the core of what we call Industry 4.0. which exists maybe already since 10 years in many cases, but which is really the core of what is around. And then obviously there are so many new interfaces in the value chain, to suppliers, to customers, digital channels actually driving customer connection and so on. So it's major trends that we see. Maybe we flip over to the next slide, which is the watch list. You can see that it's getting really crowded. Maybe Philip with a comment, because we had been seeing in particular from France companies in some areas.
Yes, and I will take the opportunity also to move forward on the presentation on comparing France and Germany a little bit. We have taken the same categories for both, obviously, but the characteristic of the French market is definitely a lot of more, many more startup in the infancy, I will say, in the
earlier stages.
Yeah, earlier stages, because this is also the ecosystem which is like that, with French Fab, French Tech, and a very rich landscape of startups. A lot of possibility to get the first financing. Definitely. The number of scale-ups is still lagging behind Germany, but it's also an opportunity here for the French startup to look at the German counterpart and to see how they can work together, as already mentioned. There are plenty of programs in order to accelerate, and I think it is important that the ECA is also part of that, because accelerating the business at international level, at European level, is a very important practice that this company should do as early as possible. Yeah. Maybe you can give some words on Germany.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you can go for 1 second back. I just wanted to comment on two things. Just if you look at the sheer map, you will see two areas where we have really seen a lot of activity. One, that's what I already mentioned, is basically the smart production, where we see additive manufacturing, automation, robotics, maintenance, digital twinning, AR, VR. So there's a lot of things going on in smart production. In the core, what in particular Germany, and there we are, understand under Industry 4.0. So this is the core. This is where you also see quite a few German scale-ups. But you see as well a very big area which is between artificial intelligence and data technologies. So there you have really many startups, because data technologies, artificial intelligence, new SaaS models, that's a little bit new to many incumbents. And if I may say, and there we are, maybe on the next slide, again, back, please. And there we see that France has a big stronghold. So if you, for example, see Dassault Systèmes, which is the leader in the world for 3D software, you see also that data technologies are very widely spread. So we actually saw many watch list companies on these topics, AI, data, and SaaS, and that's maybe remarkable. But it fits into the picture. Philippe started to compare both countries, with France being really a very active startup scene. I don't know who was from the non-French guests already at Station F. It's really impressive, I have to say. But Germany, you can really say there's a lot of industrial strength. it's a political priority to keep the kind of GDP share at 22% or something like that. And there are very high standards at industrial automation, industrial IT. That's there. And if you talk to some incumbent companies, they say, well, we have everything. And that's probably true in the narrower, definition. But if we come in Germany to the ecosystem and to the, let's say, to other technologies like data, AI, IoT, we see that technologically, many people are there. But if you look at business models, what can you do with it? There we see some gaps. But we see at the same time the opportunities for the startups, which are at full scale. If you see companies, many companies, which are full scale, managing external innovation, startup interaction programs, because they know they cannot put everything in their own roadmap, and because they know new business models are something that startups can try easier than themselves. So we see that both pictures, high level, and I would say catch up and priority on new models, and that's what we wanted to bring into the map. And I think that's what you also can see. You can also say the old strength in Germany is definitely alongside the Rhine. Well, Munich is not at the Rhine, but it's also, let's say, part of that. But you can see more and more that Berlin startups actually sit on these technologies in relation with smart industry. And that gives me kind of the final remark that we believe that there is a lot of things to win. In this map, there is about 6,000 employees from watchlist and scale up. That's true. 6,000 people. We counted the LinkedIn employees. So true employees might be sometimes more, sometimes less, because we know that startups try to look bigger than they are. But we also have about 600 million of funding that these companies collected. We know it's based on public data, but the order of magnitude is pretty encouraging. This is a topic where we believe that companies, European companies, can really win on a global scale. And that's I think, what we really have to bring over. And we hope that with ECA, we contributed a little bit to make this visible and to make this more attractive for the whole ecosystem. Thank you.
Yeah, one more word, because we didn't mention it, but it's obvious. This mapping is a V1, okay, version 1, and it will be regularly updated. It doesn't intend to encompass 100% of the French and German smart industry scale up or startups in Germany, but it's already a good first step and a contribution from Ingo, myself, and the other members of ECA for starting the dialogue and for building the champions that we need.
Thank you very much, Ingo and Philippe. And as you said, it's just the first version, and I've already received some remarks over the chat of companies that would like to be in another category. So this is always what happens when we launch.
Very good.
Yeah,
well,
we're already starting the discussion. So
that's
really
the
good
interaction we really want, because maybe to say that, I mean, many companies we know, but many companies we have some public data, and we really need you to interact, to register, to give us the information. We have about, I think, 70 or 80 companies where we said, oh, probably below 15 people, not sure. So also the companies who are not on the map, please get to us, and we will put you there.
Yeah.
And they should all become ECA member, isn't it, Andrea?
Yes, please.
Please.
So we're gonna, yes, of course, you can all become members and become part of the discussion. So thank you very much, Philippe and Ingo, and thank you very much for all the time that you put into this mapping. We really worked hard on this. There's a whole database behind it that is also available for our members if they need some more information. There's going to be a whole document that you can download with information and statistics, and also information from the companies that are in this mapping. So don't hesitate to download it on our website and on our social media. So it's coming up as we speak. As far as I know, Sophia is putting it online right now.
Yeah,
so
thank
I
you
would
very
like
much also for Sophia. She worked very hard.
Yes, she's our star. So thanks, Sophia, again.
Thank you.
So yes, all the companies that can have her as an intern one day are really happy. So you should write down her name if ever you're looking for someone trilingual. There's Sophia and also Nikaya in this call. So I would like to hand over to our companies that we have invited for tonight that can share their view of innovation and what they do. The first person I would like to call is Lamin. So Lamin, thanks again for being here, and please share your slide with us and share what you're doing at Infineon. We're curious to hear about it.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for inviting me, and hello to all participants. Do you see my screen? That's the first question.
Yes, we do.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so my name is Lamin Ben-Hamdane. I work for Infineon at the headquarters here in Munich. Well, a bit of my background is I'm a mechanical engineer by training. I worked in a startup very early in my career, worked a lot in corporates, and in the last years went more into the innovation side of things, helping researchers basically to commercialize their research by spinning out companies out of universities, for example. And yeah, then changed back to the corporate world, and now at Infineon I'm pushing the topic of startup corporations at Infineon. And I want to give you a quick overview about what we do at Infineon and what we do in terms of startup corporations. So just a snapshot about Infineon. We are a global semiconductor company headquartered in Munich. We are a top 10 semiconductor company with roughly nearly 50,000 employees all over the world. We are very active in everything around electronics for the automotive segment, so electronics for the car, power management applications and drives, also for the consumer space, sensor systems like, for example, the MEMS microphones for mobile phones, and also in connected and secure systems, wireless connectivity, memories, you name it. So as you can see, we are in quite a lot of different find our and as a global company, and I think in this Industry 4.0 context, it's worth to mention that we have, of course, a global manufacturing footprint for semiconductors all over the world. So we have in Europe, we have factories in Germany, Austria, and Hungary, but then, of course, also in North America and Asia, of course. Yeah. And I think every technology that we use in the Industry 4.0 space has, of course, to be scalable across the world. Yeah. So let me tell you a bit about startup corporations at Infineon. I mean, why are we doing it? It's basically to accelerate innovation at Infineon by working with the best startups worldwide. Because, as we all know, there is a tremendous innovative potential in the global startup ecosystem. And I think every corporate has to think about how to engage with the startup ecosystem and how to benefit for its own purposes. So what we do, our mission is basically really this connection, connecting the most relevant startups to the right people at Infineon. The goal is to create business together, to create win-win situations for both parties. And yeah, we are basically the voice of the startup within Infineon. Yeah. Some topics of interest that we are looking for. I mean, you have to maybe differentiate. We look at a lot of topics that are relevant for our businesses, yeah, for our business lines, for our divisions. There we look basically into applications, new applications that emerge for our own semiconductors. So for our sensors, microcontrollers, you name it. And there we are looking basically in two categories. You see in orange, startups that build hardware in different areas, be it drones, be it energy storage, for example. And the other category is, of course, embedded software. So software that complements our own hardware devices, our own hardware products. And there we look at algorithms that are closely related to our sensors, cybersecurity, 3D data, and so on. Then, of course, semiconductor technologies, that's basically our core. Yeah? So any startup that helps to build the next generation of semiconductors, for example, developing new materials, coating materials, for example. And then we have the topic of advanced productivity. So there we look at startups that become innovative supplier to us and help us to improve our own processes. And in the Industry 4.0 space, we look at different topics, starting from material handling, process control, algorithms, additive manufacturing, cobots, augmented reality, just to name a few examples that are of interest. Well, as Infineon, I think, or to start differently, so we believe that startups need three things to grow. The first one is, of course, capital and investors. The second thing, what they need is coaching. And the third one is business partners, reliable business partners. So both on the customer side, but also on the supplier side. And that's where Infineon comes in. So we see us as a reliable business partner to certain startups. We think that they get capital and coaching elsewhere much better than from us. But we basically, what we bring to the table is our technical know-how, also our reputation and our global footprint. And yeah, that's what we bring to the table, both as suppliers of startups and as customers. Well, everyone knows the startup ecosystem is highly global, and so are we as Infineon. When we talk about startup corporations, we have, of course, activities here in Munich and Vienna in particular, but also important innovation hubs in Silicon Valley, where we have an innovation center, and in Singapore, where we have a physical co-innovation space where we help startups to develop their own hardware solutions with our products. So yeah, for startups who want to connect with us, visit our webpage. You can see there the first point of contacts to Infineon. And you can apply with your technology and mention the synergies that startups could have with Infineon. So that's basically the one entry door to Infineon. Yeah, and that's it basically. A quick overview about what we do. I hope it was interesting for you.
Thank you, Lamin, and thank you also again for joining the ECA as a member. And one question I wanted to ask you before we go to the next presentation is, you are already a European champion, right, since many years, and so how do you, before we go into the discussion with the others, I just wanted to know how do you see, of course, the importance of the European ecosystem, and also what one of the reasons that you joined the ECA, what you told me when you joined, is what are your challenges today to find European technology for the business needs that you have at Infineon, which is one of the reasons why you're here.
Yeah, you're right. We are very happy to join the European Champions Alliance. I think we as Infineon, we believe in the strength of the European ecosystem, and what we see is there are lots of deep tech startups emerging in Europe, driven by universities, by research centers, by entrepreneurs. So it's a very relevant ecosystem, and I think, as Andreas mentioned, especially in the Industry 4.0 space, it's a quite active ecosystem in Europe, where we have all the advantages in terms of data and customers sitting close together. The challenges that I often see is that sometimes we have more knowledge about US startups than about French startups, or UK startups. And I think we have to increase the transparency of what's really happening in Europe, and promote it more. And I think the ECA is one piece of the puzzle to progress on this, to create a more transparent European ecosystem and to connect relevant players on the startup side to corporates.
Okay, thank you. We have the possibility to discuss a little bit in the panel later on, and I would like to thank you for the presentation, Lamin, and to telling us what Infineon is doing and what kind of companies you would be looking for and you would like to interact with. I would like to call our next speaker, who is Frédéric from Thales. So our second corporate member, that trusted the ECA to become a member and be part of our network. So Frédéric, please, can you tell us about what you do in the innovation space, and show us your small presentation.
Yes, thank you. Do you see me? Do you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Frédéric Montagard. I am. I feel a lot of similarities with Lamin. I am the Lamin of Thales, if I may say. I found myself in the exact shoes, and I don't want to rephrase what was said, so I will probably use my own words to describe what I am doing and what we are doing at Thales with the startups, and why we are here with the ECA. Try to explain you in short. So my background is I have 25 years of international cooperation with Thales. So I was appointed 2.5 years ago at this position. This position being a startup and partnership for the Thales Group. I have a striking news to all of you. My management has agreed that I should be working partially as a managing director of a startup in the coming days. So I will be Mr. Startup for Thales, and I will be helping directly a startup. So it will be in real life. A few figures about Thales. If you have only one figure to bear in mind, it is the amount of self-funded R&D, 1 billion euro. That leads to probably 28,000 people working in R&D at Thales, 28,000 people. We do have 5 international research centers in the world. We have one in France, where I'm staying, in Palaiseau. We have one in the Netherlands, one in UK, one in Singapore, and one in Canada. So that will probably explain you further why we are selective in our search for technologies, and especially for startups. One last word about the Thales group. There is no other company in the world that have some activities underwater, above water, on land, on air, in space, and in even cyberspace. That is gathered in 5 different domains, being digital identity and security, that was formerly known as Gemalto, defense and security, aerospace, space, and ground transportation. So you can see that there is a widespread of markets, but always with some technologies underlying behind. So why are we at ECA? We are at ECA because there is a clear fit between our work with startups and the ECA objectives. What is our work with startups? We are working in open innovation at Thales for decades. We are working with customers, we are working with our suppliers, we are working with academic members and partners for decades with startups, and we have started only 7 years ago. So we are improving. Why are we working with startups? Of course, to access to the innovation, to identify potential business models, often services like as a service, as you know, but also to accelerate our time to market. We are a big elephant. We like to run faster. So how to run faster an elephant is by accelerating the time and increase competitiveness. Of course, if we are here for Industry 4.0, it is to increase competitiveness. So most of the time, the startup, they come and see us and they say, we have a technology. Do you have a market? So typically, there is a fit, there is a market. We say there is a market, and we partner with them. If there is no market, we tell them, according to our knowledge, there is no market. So it should be a quick discussion. The topics, you can see the various topics. We have 8 topics, probably the same as, or closely to the same as Infineon presented. You do not see here Industry 4.0 because, of course, Industry 4.0 is composed of many of these topics. There is some IoT in Industry 4.0. There is IA, there is cybersecurity, for example. You can also see here the clear fit between ECA focus groups and Thales. Of course, we are interested in cybersecurity focus group. We are interested in smart industry focus group. We are interested in health focus group. We are interested in space focus group. So there is a clear fit with ECA. I will elaborate on our good practices, but the acronym that you have to probably to remember is FAST: fairness, agility, selectivity, and trust. And underlying that, we have a network of more than 1,000 startups that we gathered through the years of the 7 past years. Main focus, of course, is in Europe, but also in the US, in Israel, and outside. And we have performed a POC with more than 150 different startups, just to give some figures. Our approach with startups, I said, we have an acronym called FAST. Why FAST? Because we need to be fair. Fair means we need to have a balanced collaboration. I use the word collaboration or cooperation, as Lamin mentioned. We need to be agile. Why? Because we have processes at Thales. As a group of 83,000 people, we do have strong and sound processes that are absolutely not tailored to startups. So we have tailored our processes specifically to startups and SMEs. We are very selective, as you can see in this slide. From approximately 1,300 new startups identified every year, we select among 200 of them every year of interest, and then we sign POC, proof of concept, with probably 20 of them. So we need, and we are selective by nature, by the figures I gave you in my first slide. And the last but not least is trust, because of course we cannot find partners without trust. We are not here for one-shot business. We are here to seeking partnership, long-term partnership, given the nature of our customers. Our customers, they trust us for the next 5, 20, sometimes more years, especially in the defense or in the B2G businesses. So that explains you, and that gives you some ideas about how we work with startups. Of course, we are improving every day. We are still making mistakes, and we are here to improve and to listen to you. And that is also why we are at ECA to benefit from the experience that you have, and also maybe to share some of our past, I would say, experiences, being good or bad. And in the end, the open innovation as Thales is, of course, pursuing two goals, one being competitiveness, our own internal processes that we need to improve, and the growth. Growth can be growth of our existing markets and can be also growth of new markets, and that some startups can also help us to gain new markets. So that was my general presentation, Andrea, about how
Yes.
Thales foresee open innovation with startups. Please have in mind that in the focus group industry or smart industry, there is Franck Choplin with me, and we are working in close cooperation for the benefit of the Thales and of our partners to seek for nice startups to partner for our mutual benefits. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Frédéric. It's really interesting, and also one of the reasons why we're happy to work with you and also with Infineon for our first corporate members, because we know that growing in Europe is already, and on international basis, is already complicated. But then to be able to work with corporates in other countries and other markets is especially complicated, because there are questions also of culture and of language and of cross-border. And so we're happy that you're here and open to work with all of those companies. And I'm looking a little bit at the watch, and I see that we're lagging a little bit behind in time. So we will speak again together, Frédéric, in the panel discussion. But I would also like to give the floor to Aymeric, who is our let's say startup representative from France tonight. So I'm really happy that you're here, Aymeric. Please tell us what you do at Scortex, and one of the companies that always comes up when we talk about smart industry, French companies working in Germany in the smart industry sector. So please tell us what you do. It's really very interesting and looking forward to it. And after that, we will go a little bit in the discussions. So if you have questions to those, to the persons who have just presented, please write them in the comments and we can pick them up in the panel. Aymeric, please.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here tonight. I guess the two corporates and two startups, and a French and a German one, and really representing the ecosystem. The German one is a little bit bigger than us, but hopefully we'll be able to follow their way and grow as much as them. So yeah, happy to tell you more about what we do at Scortex. So we are a European company from day one, and basically we work with manufacturers to help them, to enable them to take better control of their quality. So we digitalize quality inspection, oops, sorry. A few words about Scortex. So we were created 4 years ago. We're a team of about 35 people focused on using AI and bringing AI into the manufacturing space, and especially into the factory and on the production line. We've been raising so far 5 million euros to be able to fuel our growth, and have deployed a solution with about 10 large customers across 4 countries in Europe, and looking to grow, still to grow in the coming years. Concretely, what do we do? We focus on solving the pain of quality, and especially the high cost of quality, which is essential for European manufacturers' competitiveness. The cost of quality embeds a lot of different things, but basically we focus here on the cost of inspection, so usually a very repetitive and manual task that we see in so many factories, and the cost of managing quality and the impact on loss it can have. There's issues on quality standard also, is how do you standardize something that is performed manually across an organization? Andreas early on talked about having the human at the center of the process. I do believe it's absolutely critical, but here we focus on very repetitive tasks where human actually is not that good at. Inspecting thousands of products every day, for example. So we focus on standardizing to be able to make sure that those repetitive tasks are performed automatically, and then providing more insight into the humans. So that brings me to the last step, which is visibility and reactivity, where we basically, by automating this task, we give the experts around the group more visibility on what's happening on the shop floor. We target key sectors that we see that are critical to European manufacturing. The first one being automotive, also consumer goods, and more recently medical device, basically focusing on companies that have high cost of quality. A high cost of quality can eat up to 10 to 20% of a company's revenue. It's something that we believe is critical for manufacturers' competitiveness, and that's still not easy to track today for a lot of manufacturers. So concretely, what do? We deploy automated inspection station on production line to automate the inspection of products that are still inspected right now manually. And what makes us different is we actually embed in our inspection station deep learning application that allows us to have high performance inspection applications. Then those inspection station and the automation of this task actually start generating a lot of valuable data on the production and on the quality of this production. And you can see all this data, it actually get transferred into a central cloud platform that we call the quality center. And this is here to be able to be kind of the quality cockpit of manufacturers for production and quality teams to understand in real time what is happening on their production line and being able to react on quality issues much faster. The other things that you see in the quality center is basically with digitized quality reporting. And for every part are inspected, our customers can see inspection report for every product they produce and that go through a system. And that the goal of here is to change the relationship between a customer and a supplier and to build trust thanks to digitized quality control. Here is the close up on the quality center. So basically there's this essential step of quality reporting that is important in quality management. And basically we saw that by automating a task, we start generating a lot of very valuable data very consistently and in real time. And we wanted to make sure that to get the full value of automation, we were serving this type of data to our customers so they can actually build other services and additional services on top of this smart automation. Example use case of what we do. So as I mentioned, we work in automotive. Here it's working on the automation of plastic components that goes on car keys. So it used to be performed manually. We completely automated it. And the impact for our customer is basically they've been able to reduce their customer claims and start being more competitive and winning actually additional contracts because they've been able to automate this repetitive task. The other massive impact is actually by automating the task, they're now generating data on their quality, as I mentioned, and they're able to correlate that to their production parameters and have a better understanding of their processes and what's impacting their quality as they move over time. And that's another key element for improving competitiveness is actually using the human expertise and the advanced automation for operational excellence, and here to master the process and have a deeper understanding of the process of the parameters that are impacting the quality. Another use case, we work as also the consumer goods space, for example, automating in cosmetics, the lipstick inspection, so pretty challenging inspection. Imagine today that in most lipstick manufacturing, you actually have people inspecting millions of products of lipstick every day, and that's thousands a day. That's a pretty repetitive task, and I don't think it's necessary to be performed manually. And on the other side, actually the scrap rate for those type of product is still quite high. So there's a lot of inefficiencies in the process, and the value of automation and getting data out of this that means they can actually focus and bring the human expertise into actually improving the process thanks to the data and the automation. Yeah, to wrap up and after, happy to talk about the ECA. Basically, we work on quality intelligence, which has for us 3 key steps. The first one is delivering high performance control and automating those visual tasks that are performed manually today and that are that quite frankly shouldn't, as it's such a repetitive and difficult task to do for humans. The next step is by automating this task, we're giving insights, basically digitizing the data on quality and the knowledge on quality for manufacturers and centralizing that into a cloud platform. And leveraging this data and centralized knowledge, we basically can work on improving. So embedding continuous improvements onto the manufacturing process and dynamic control of quality, so we actually stop producing defective products. Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Aymeric. Thank you very much. And basically, what I see is that you have an approach that is also in line with what Andreas presented beforehand. So putting the human in the center and also making repetitive tasks automated and giving the human a more interesting, I would say, task also to complete. And one thing that I wanted to do is pick up the questions that have been in the question box. And thank you, Hendrik, for asking this question, because it's one question that I wanted to kick off actually with together also, and asking in the first place, Andreas, because I know, Andreas, we have talked about this last year or in the beginning of this year. You've worked some time also in the US, and so you have a good vision about the differences of the ecosystem itself and the ecosystem builders, and this is what we're trying to do here, the ecosystem and how it works between the US and Europe. And maybe give us a little bit your appreciation about this, and what also are the challenges that we need to tackle as European ecosystem to better come together and to better profit from this digital market that we have here in Europe. And I know you have good ideas around this because we've already discussed them. So please share them with the rest of the.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's my own opinion. So you might be of different opinion, but I do believe that there are some advantages, obviously, that an American market has, which is it's one big market, one language, one culture, more or less, one law system, tax system, and so on, which makes it easier for technologists to travel. And it's a huge market itself. This in itself creates obviously an ecosystem. The other one, there are, I think, more centers in the US, like the Silicon Valley, where you don't need to travel a lot. You get in the car, drive 15 minutes, and you're at the next possible partner you can team up with. But what's really different, and that's why I'm emphasizing the strength of Europe. The strength, I think, is in the industrial space. If you go to the Silicon Valley and you try to find a company that produces something, I mean, hardware, probably the only company is Tesla. And I'm over-exaggerating, I know, but I think that's one of the strengths we have. And that's where I think we can really succeed and be world champion if we do it right. Focus on what we are good in, and combine already existing companies like Thales, Infineon, who are really strong in their business, and teaming up with startups and scale-ups that can actually develop very fast because they are very lean things that really help the business. I think that's where we can succeed, and I think that's what we should focus on. I do believe it's going to be difficult for companies in Europe to try to break into successes like Facebook or like the true B2C successes we're seeing, because I think that train is gone. But for most of the cases, but I truly believe we could be the owner of the industrial revolution and Industry 4.0 and everything that's connected to this. And by the way, yes, I think what I just heard from the speaker before, automating things that is helping the human to offload repetitive tasks is definitely in line with what I think as well.
And what do you think? And maybe also Aymeric and Lamin, also the question to you and also to Frank from Thales. So what do you think do we need to stay ahead? Because basically what we hear when we look at the press and when we talk about European technology is, okay, we're lacking behind and we're not getting the innovations in the company, and there's a question of digital transformation, and China and the US are so much ahead. So what do you think, maybe Aymeric, from your point of view as a scale up, and you're trying to integrate other markets, and you tried you not tried, but you do work also in Germany already for quite some time. So what do you think are the biggest challenges that you face, and that would make it for you easier to grow quicker in this European space today?
Yeah, to start in comparison with the US, I think there's one thing that is very embedded in the American culture that we sometimes miss in Europe is the ability to experiment more and do mistakes and value mistakes. It's in most entrepreneurs' book, but I think it's very valuable. It's really true when you see how fast large manufacturers and people are making decisions. The ability to move and fail fast is not really a European value, and sometimes it's helping us actually. And the other aspect is making sure that we enable people to have the ambition, and this is why I like that one of the value of the ECA is ambition. I think it's very valuable. So making sure that people know they can have an ambition to serve at least the European market, and that it can be a single market for scale up in Europe is absolutely critical. On the other side, and to focus more in Europe, I think there's a challenge where, as you mentioned at the beginning, there are a lot of great ecosystems that do not really communicate with each other. I mean, I've started a company in France, and it's amazing to see how many association and companies there are to help us grow and scale our companies. And the help of the government also is amazing. But then really connecting to other countries is getting a bit harder. There's I guess the biggest connection is between France and Germany, but I wish it was actually even bigger. Tonight we've not talked about like Italy or Spain, who are huge manufacturing countries and where they're really struggling to build their startup ecosystem. They want to do it. They know it's important to bring innovation. I mean, Italy is a massive manufacturing countries. And they need this innovation ecosystem, and they need to build internally the company. So it's an opportunity for other European scale up, of course, in startups. But one of the things that I wish to see more is making sure that we see more of a global ecosystem in startups so each country communicates. It's valuable to have local ecosystem, but we need to make sure also that people talk to each other, and that we see, because it's important. Otherwise, we tend to focus on your local market and forget to go to take the train and go to the next country. And Europe is actually quite small. And I guess as a matter of comparison, I guess it's one of the things that Israel got right is that since the local market is so small, they have to go big international from the get-go. And I think we, as each individual European players, need to think as Europe as the market we should target from day one.
Yeah, maybe to jump on that, Andrea. I mean, at ECA we are always also joking. I mean, it's sometimes. I mean, I'm based in Frankfurt. It's quicker. Well, it's the same distance or time to go to Paris than to go to Munich. Well, Berlin is even further away. So, but I think one very interesting thing you have been mentioning is the ecosystem, and that the ecosystem in parts like Facebook or consumer internet is actually in the US and also in China, yeah? Very big companies. So, but in industry, we have a very strong ecosystem because it's here in Europe that you produce. And actually what's happening is if you talk to companies like Infineon, Siemens, Bosch, the big German players, but also the big French players, actually they start more and more since several years to interact with the startup community. And that's a different, and that's where the ecosystem comes together. And one thing which belongs also to the ecosystem is, I think, the right funding. And it's not only that you could enter a market, but you need to find funding. And what we see is that the funding levels across Europe have been really growing significant. And you have seen that other players actually have new players have entered the market. So I think there's a big chance to because these things actually work together. The ecosystem between startups, new tech, between the incumbents, I would call them, who know that there is a roadmap outside their own development, and the growing possibility of funding, and that's one thing. My personal experience is very positive. If you go in Germany and you go fundraising in Germany, you go usually to German investors. And if you're big, you actually, it's maybe the Anglo-Saxon investors who pick you up. But our experience is, having supported companies with Vector Palette, for example, but also before in funds to grow international, that if you are an European player, you can access completely different investors than you can access if you're just purely French or purely German. And that gives you, let's say, a different step in the market. And one thing also is that what you see in the US, it's very quick. If you want to go somewhere, or if you need an addition, you actually consolidate with other startup. And that's also not happening in Germany and in France in the same speed. So what we have been encouraging actually is to bring also the investors community together. I mean, 600 million in the map is not bad, but it could be more. And also bringing the startups together, because the experience that we have, sometimes there are cultural differences between France and Germany, having worked so long between both cultures. But sometimes it's actually a good idea actually to merge companies, and when you see that, it's actually a good approach. So and this can happen actually through the means of ECA, and that's where we committed to help and to mentor, and also to really take it into the hands and to run projects like that. Sorry, Andrea, to jump on this, but I found it interesting.
It's okay, and we've seen it also in the Space Tech event that we did, that the both companies who are presenting, one from Germany, from Munich, ESA Aerospace, and another one from France, which is called ExoTrade. They didn't know each other, and they were connected even before the webinar. They connected and said, "Hey, my clients are looking for something that you do," and so they started to interact each other. So I hope that Aymeric and Andreas, you have something maybe to share, and maybe some common clients. I don't know. So maybe something's going to happen here. But I wanted to pick up something that you said, Aymeric, and ask our two corporate members, and first of all, to Frank, and I hope that you are still here, but I think so. I just saw you a couple of seconds ago. Was basically what Aymeric said is the question of risk taking, and if you are buying European technology from smaller companies also, then you are the one who have to take the risk, basically also to work with smaller companies and startups and scale-ups. So how do you evaluate this, and what are your key challenges to finding this technology, and what are the solutions that you see, or that we could develop together, of bringing this European technology together in a more, let's say, quicker way? Maybe
from a corporate perspective, we are always balancing and trying to have a trade-off between global solution and local, and as Frédéric explained a few minutes ago, to accelerate thanks to actors which can which are more agile than a big company. So that's what we are looking for. Startups and scale-ups. What I would like to add and maybe to highlight during this meeting is also that European companies have a huge opportunity in front of companies like Thales, but not only, since as they are European, we are more confident to secure our IP, our knowledge, and our data, and that's something I think we have to work on, is to try each time to find a European solution, French, German, or other countries, to secure our solutions in terms of technology, but also in terms of protecting data in front of countries, USA, but not only, who've got some big regulations to be in a position to have business intelligence and so on. So I think that's something we have to and that's something that's something we have to try to do each time and to encourage such initiatives.
So we talked about, I remember we talked about, Frank, about sovereignty and the need of finding sovereign, also for you, as you just explained. So I think this is what we're trying to do here, of course, is to find them and to make the connection also with actors like you. This is why this is what we're trying to do. And maybe Lamin, you're in the same situation. You have very big operations, of course, and sometimes if you lay your eggs into a small company from Europe, that maybe you also take some responsibility in providing those technologies internally to your business lines. So how do you see this, and how do you see maybe also the reaction from your business in terms of buying European technology or buying American or even Asian technology? So what are your thoughts about this?
Yes, I mean, you're right, of course. If we can do it, or if existing suppliers, let's say like that, offer a compelling solution to our challenges, then it's fine, But there are many areas where we want to have a solution for a problem now, where we can't just go to a supplier and buy a solution that already exists. So I think it's really worth to look beyond, to look into solutions offered by startups, because they are really working in the forefront of technology. They are trying new things. I mean, that's I think their reason of being, that they commercialize new technology, cutting edge technology. And how we, as Infineon, limit the risk is basically we look at startups that already have a finished product that they have developed, that they startups that have raised funding, so that because that already takes away a lot of risk, because if investors trust the solution of the startup, that already that's a sign of confidence. So we look at those factors. So basically at more mature startups or scale-ups, as we call them, to limit the risk. And but then of course these scale-ups are very strong, because they have for their product category, they have millions of funding behind them, and they have all the potential to become a leader in this category. And so in fact they have lots of funding for their product, and so they will develop fast. And why shouldn't we as Infineon use a novel and good solution before it becomes completely mainstream? Because we benefit earlier than from these solutions when we become an early customer or even a lead customer.
Can I chime in on this, because I think you're bringing up a very good point. We as a company, we would not exist if BMW, in this case, wouldn't have helped us defining the product. We had an idea on what to do. We didn't have funding. The only funding came from a contest that we won, which was, I think, 250K US dollar. And then BMW helped us defining what is the use case, what kind of functionality should the device have. So we were pretty sure that what we built actually hits the market and hits the nerve of the market. And only after that, we did get the funding by VCs. I think that's one thing where big companies in Europe can really help, is taking technology that's interesting and help these companies getting technology to a stage where it's meaningful and not wait too long until everyone else has funded it.
And maybe also on so what we would like to do is to do what you just explained, Andreas, but on a European level. So also having companies like Thales and like Infineon and others we're already discussing with, helping them also enter new markets and becoming bigger and being a first also being a first customer reference, because it's always so complicated to have customer references that want to show up with you and say that they're using your technology. And so this is also something that is very important, because we know that we take a French company that wants to go to Germany or the other way around. If they don't have references, it's really complicated for them to get into the market. And so we also need, and this is what we will try to do also with the ECA, is to be able to make those connections and also get to the decision makers a little bit quicker and get into the network, because what is complicated in another country, in another market, is to having the right contacts. And this is what we want to work on. So to say that there is Lamin, and then there's Frank, and there's Frédéric, and that you can contact on behalf of the ECA, and maybe we can make the introduction just to get a feedback, a market feedback. What you got on your technology, Andreas, basically is something that you also need for your technology in other markets. Is this already here? Is this already standard? Is it convenience already in the market? Or are you really bringing something innovative to the market? And to who do I have to go? How do I have to understand the ecosystem? So I think this is something that we really want to do. And maybe as a final remark, because I'm looking at the time, and I'm sorry that we are at lacking a little bit over and behind time. Maybe you, each of you can give us one idea or one solution or one thing that you really think that we should work on as an association, because we're still very young. So we are still really trying to build all of those ideas. Maybe each of you can give us something that we really have to work on in the next 6 months as an ecosystem, and that you would support or maybe help us with. So Aymeric, you're in the very upper part of my panel, so I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I think, and I guess I will have a parallel with building standards. If you want standards to unite everything, you don't build a new standards. Otherwise, you just have a new standard. So indeed, yeah, to create a European ecosystem, I guess making sure that we are including as much as possible existing leaders of local ecosystem, I guess it would be for me an important key step to make sure that we're building on solid ground, and that we're able to connect people who are mature, because there's already a very interesting ecosystem in countries like Germany and France.
Thank you, Aymeric. Thank you very much. Andreas, please let us know. You have to unmute.
Yeah, sorry, I just figured out. So I think what you're doing is what I do like, and I think keeping this as a focus, is bringing together companies, big and small, helping them to really define a European community where European companies, small companies, and scale-ups can grow faster by the help of the others. I think that's something where I see tremendous value, and I have not seen it in other organizations.
We'll do it. Thank you, Andreas. Frank, if you want to maybe say a last word.
The last one, maybe, yeah, to probably to get to make this agora evolve and very active. We are at the starting point, and now we have to make things happen.
Yeah, and Lamin, last but not least, you have already explained it, but maybe a last word from Munich, my hometown.
Yeah, I think as the others already mentioned, it's really, I think there is a worth in connecting or creating a more transparent European ecosystem, meaning yeah, connecting startups to corporates, for corporates to share also experience amongst themselves. That's another aspect that I see. And I think for that, of course, now the European Champions Alliance and the Industry 4.0 group is in an initial stage. I'm looking forward, of course, to grow the members, both on the scale-up side, but also on the corporate side, to have this network effect and to reach this goal. Yeah.
So this is what we're trying to do, and I think the last comment here from Ergino, thank you very much. I think this is what we will be trying to do, is to have a helping hand, basically, for companies that want to grow. I'm very conscious of the time limit that we have set, but we really wanted the 4 companies tonight to present what they do and how they see the vision of the European ecosystem. We really also want to connect you all together. But I look at the time, I know it's late. We have thought that we could do maybe some networking after this event, but maybe I think the time is stretched for everyone, and maybe you want to also get to dinner and get to your family. Here my dinner table's already preparing. So I would say we put the networking to the next time. I would like to really invite you to some networking where we have the possibility to connect one to each other and to really have this interaction. If you have any question about the European Champions Alliance, about how to become a member, please contact us, contact myself or Sophia over the website, social media, whatever. I'm sure you're going to find a way. I hope that we will do another event on the 3rd of December on data protection. This is from the cybersecurity group. Please come and join us. Gonna do another event on the 10th of December on governance, on early stage governance, also for startups and scale-ups. So please also come to this event if you're interested. And the next smart industry event will be in the first quarter of Q1, where we will do an event together with the CEFA, the Club Économique Franco-Allemand, where there are a lot of big also industrial companies being part of this. So we're looking forward to this. Subscribe to our newsletter to get this info. Thank you very much for everyone for being here, especially our speakers taking the time. And yeah, if you have ideas, we're open. We're an association, so everyone can have everyone can have a go. We're doing all of this also for you and for the ecosystem. We're gonna share the mapping after this event and tomorrow. So please share it also on social media. We need this this visibility so that people come to us, that people want to be part of this mapping and about this discussion. So really, please take it, use it, share it, and praise it. And if you have any question, then please let me know. And if someone wants to say something, just unmute and say it. And I'm really looking forward to the discussion with all of you.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And thank you for doing all this.
Thank you, and speak very soon. And if you have any questions, please come to us. And thank you again for our focus group members, Ingo, Philippe, for all of the work, Sophia, Nikaya. It's a whole teamwork. So if you want to be active also in the association, you can. Everyone can do it. Everyone can come and help. So please let us know and answer also to the questionnaire that we will send after the event to know what we can make better for next time, maybe.
Yes,
Ingo, maybe
join us.
Philippe, yes.
No, join us because the more we are, the best and the stronger we will be. That's if you want to make it big with a big European champion, we have to be more and more.
Yes, that's right. So Thank you very much, and have a nice
Okay.
evening, everyone.
Bye-bye.
And speak soon. Bye bye.